Batman is awesome. He's a DC icon that is so good his entire brand was named after the book he showed up in. Everyone loves Batman, and we see that with how many adaptations there are, but in video games everyone loves one series above all when it comes to Batman, and that is the Arkham games. Now I've played the Arkham games, well, I've played 1.5 of them, and here's my hot take. I am not that big of a fan of the Arkham games. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad games, they're just fine, but they don't really do what I want a Batman game to do. They're just a punching simulator. I press left click on the mouse and the game basically plays itself. The world and characters are interesting, but they feel like such a small part compared to all the random goons I'm turning into mush on the wall, while they just constantly keep yelling, "It's the Bat!" It's got combat that's fine, but it gets old around the 1 hour mark, and these aren't bad games, they just are games that I don't care a lot about. And they take the detective out of Batman, and they also take out the most interesting thing about him, who he is. Batman as a character is fascinating, a man crippled by two sides, one being his Bruce Wayne persona and the other being the Batman. One being much easier to slip into and allowing himself to be himself truly, being brutal and vengeance in the law, while the other one being a necessary beacon of hope yet constantly compromised due to how the two messily tangle together. And we don't even see Bruce Wayne in any of the Arkham games other than for like a minute at the very beginning of Arkham City. Same even with the most recent Batman movies. We see in the Batman all he does as Bruce Wayne is wake up in his Dracula house, eat some grapes, then goes back to being Batman. And while I have loved a lot of adaptations of Batman recently, it also bums me out when the man behind the mask is forgotten. That is why I love Batman the Telltale Series. Batman the Telltale Series is basically a choose your own adventure, but you're Batman, putting you into the shoes of the Cape Crusader as you have to take on his biggest rogues. Now why does this game rule? Well, first off, we gotta talk about Batman here. Can we talk about the Telltale Batman? I've been dying to talk about Telltale Batman. This version of Batman is one of my favorite adaptations of the character ever, and that's because I gotta choose how he was played, and that was able to make him the perfect Batman for me. At first I started off as a mean and brutal Batman, but slowly I opened up to being a more hopeful and helpful Batman like the one in Justice League the animated show. But if you want to be a Frank Miller evil Batman or a completely sympathetic and caring Batman, you can be either, and that is the best part of the game, your choices. Now if you know anything about Telltale games, you know their entire games are choice based, and that can be a two-sided coin. First off, it can be extremely satisfying when you feel your choices are impacting your story, or extremely frustrating when you pick something and the game goes, you actually got to get back on track, and your character says something completely random that shoves them back onto the course. It makes it feel like you don't have any actual control over your characters.
I'm tired, I am hungry, I haven't showered in 3 days! I want to go home, and if you don't get the hell out of my way, I swear to God, I will have this car run you over, and then back up again, just to make sure it did the job!
What's going on with you? What are you talking about? You sound insane.
Batman the Telltale Series, though, almost completely allows you to determine your relationships throughout the game. Look at the first season. You have Alfred, Catwoman, Harvey, the board at Wayne Towers, Falcone, Gordon. All of them are relationships you have to balance, and that isn't even that many, yet they can all go so differently for each player. Still, it feels like a challenge to keep all these relationships afloat, and you will still have to pick the ones you care about most and others will falter. That said, with all the praise I give to the design, Season 1 isn't even my favorite. The main villain they reveal, which I won't say since it's a spoiler, I thought was very underwhelming, and I thought it was annoying how although your relationship changed with Harvey, you were always going to have to fight him, and I didn't like that it was always going to be that way. And the last thing I didn't love was that there was a lack of consequences. During my playthrough, I decided I was going to head over and fight Penguin instead of fighting Two-Face. I felt he had more of a threat to my company and the bat tech I had, only for Two-Face to end up burning down my house because I made that decision. And I thought there was going to be some real stakes. I thought Alfred died, but no, he was fine. And that fear I had from the choices I had made didn't really matter. The first season is solid enough. It's like Batman Begins, but the second season, The Enemy Within, just like The Dark Knight, is where Telltale's version of Batman really hits its stride. Season 2 throws you straight into the deep end. I don't want to spoil a lot of the story here, but it revolves around Amanda Waller throwing Bruce Wayne undercover into a crime crew of Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Harley Quinn, and Joker's gang. And the thing this season nails is that every choice matters. There were moments where I was zoned out, kind of just thinking, how can I get through this? How could I help myself out? Only for that situation to pay off 4 hours later with the character hating me for manipulating them because I was being selfish. There's so many characters and so many things that can go wrong that you will not be able to save everyone, and you will be questioning what you did on multiple occasions. It's a game that constantly makes you question your morals as Batman, and if your ends justify the means. It's a game that has villains villains match your decisions, and I think that is what I love the most. The most horrifying realization Season 2 has is when you realize that you have ended up creating some of the monsters you're gonna have to fight against. Through my own choices that I thought were right at the time, I ended up hurting characters unimaginably. I ended up getting characters killed. I gave Alfred a near heart attack, yet at the end, I still felt that I'd done the right thing. Without too spoilery of an ending, the way I ended my relationships with villains and vigilantes, it felt like I had brought some to justice and gave others that I thought needed a second chance. I really thought I did the right thing. I took those that were too far gone in and put them in prison and let people I'd grown to care about, after playing the game for 20 hours, go free, giving them a second chance. All I'm saying is, if you allowed me to basically confirm that me and Catwoman are in a relationship, yet I still feel unsatisfied as my life as Batman, I feel like you've done something right. And I love the idea here that you're not able to do everything correctly. One of my favorite concepts of Batman in the comics is by Grant Morrison with the idea of a missing piece. It's the idea that Batman knows that there is always something that he can't save, or there's a reason that he won't ever be fully happy. As long as there is a demand for Batman stories in comics and movies and shows, Batman can never rest because there will always be a demand for Batman. It's a meta deconstruction of who he is, yet it's an idea that I love for him. Batman has to accept that he isn't going to get a storybook ending. Nothing is ever going to wrap up perfectly. You just have to do your best at picking up the pieces. And playing this game was the personification of that. I was addicted. I got attached to some of these characters and watched them break my heart later down the road as I tried to save them. The game expertly adapts main characters that shouldn't change, yet sometimes gives some characters a new facelift, and the fact that the entire final episode will completely change based on your choices is just incredible and makes it that much more depressing because your choices genuinely mattered. When you get to the end of Batman the Enemy Within after playing both seasons, you'll sit back and wonder, just like Bruce, if it was all worth it, making you look back at your choices as this comic book character, and just like after every Batman adventure, wondering what story is next for the Caped Crusader. Batman the Telltale Series is one of the most overlooked recent Batman stories, and if you love the character and want to see a cross between amazing episodic TV writing, along with great direction and allowing yourself to choose where it goes, you have no excuse not to be playing this game. If you love Batman, you owe it to yourself to drop what you're doing and play Batman the Telltale Series because you will not regret it. Play Batman the Telltale Series because I desperately need a Season 3 that hit me with such a bad cliffhanger. Come on guys, if we all play it, maybe they'll give it to us.